Hi there, and welcome to the Two Random Words podcast, where I chat with various people in creative industries, be it YouTubers, musicians, gamers, filmmakers, and anything in between. So today I'm joined by Sector 6. Would you like to give yourself an introduction, Sector 6?
How's it going, everybody? I'm John. I run the Sector 6 channel on YouTube and Twitch. On YouTube, I mainly make Final Fantasy news, Final Fantasy content, theories, that sort of thing. And on Twitch, I just mess about. Pretty random. We just play whatever comes out. We just finished Dave the Diver. So
Dave the Diver. Not very JRPG, Dave the Diver, is
very
it?
addictive game. Ludicrously. It's like Stardew Valley plus fishing plus running a sushi restaurant. It's amazing.
I've heard about it, but like the thing is with me, I get addicted to things quite. That's probably the really, really strong word. I get, probably is addicted to things quite easily,
Yep.
and I try and vary things up quite quickly and quite often.
Just so you don't get stuck on something.
So I don't get stuck on something. Yeah,
I get
that's kind of my thing. Where so like I've tried to stop myself platining trophy in games. Because I honestly, I just get like, I've got to keep going, I've got to keep going, I've got to keep going. So I never get through a backlog, and then people start talking about things. I'm like, what are you on about? So
I used to never really platinum hunt, but then since I started streaming, chat are like, so are you gonna platinum this game? Then it's like, yeah, I suppose.
The thing is with that, you're getting something creative out of it there. Like you're bouncing off people. And I think the thing with me, like the more content I do, I'm like, well, there's so many things I want to do, and so many different people I want to network with, and I'm like, if I sit here and try and platinum one thing and it's probably, knowing me with my really obscure tastes, it's probably something no one's ever heard of. and it really interests me, but probably hasn't got anything else there. But anyway, as a question, you want to just talk about sort of history of your content, what got you into it, what inspired you, all that jazz?
So with starting out doing content, it was kind of a combination of things. Like, obviously the pandemic kind of happened, and I was already doing content a little bit at the start of that, but that kind of became the point where I was like, right, well, I'm stuck inside. Might as well make a lot of content. Why not? But it was very much the remake project, coupled with seeing a few other Final Fantasy YouTubers, like especially Death Unites Us. He makes loads of guides on the original Final Fantasy VII, and he's like, he's destroyed the game to the point where he can go into the Ruby Weapon battle, not press a button. Ruby Weapon dies, win. And things like that. And it just kind of inspired me to like, I could do this. I could talk about Final Fantasy. So yeah, and it's been a long journey. Like the first couple of years didn't really see much growth, but then the last 6 to 12 months, we've seen a big explosion. So feeling good.
Things have exploded for a lot of people in the last 12 months of Final Fantasy. I mean, it's I've been sort of, my history with content creation, I mean, I've always been doing daft things like making Lego movies and stuff like that. And I made some Final Fantasy Lego movies back in the day, actually, which don't exist anymore, which I'm gutted about. We did like I remember, just panged the memory. I had like a torch when I was a kid, and I put like my Zidane I'd made, and I got like a little bit of elastic band, or Zidane, or whatever you call them, and I put a little bit of elastic band in between like these Lego man's legs, and then stuck them on top of the torch, turned it on. That was like him going into trance. And I was really pleased with myself, and I've not got it on film anymore, which is really annoying. But loads of things like that. But I sort of started properly, if you can call it that, in 2019. And it's, I mean, I've not had as much traction as you have in terms of views and stuff like that, but comparatively, my numbers have gone up in the last 6 to 12 months as well. And of course, some of the stuff I've done is Final Fantasy related, and it's the most fun, isn't it? I think. I think it's there's an unbelievable wealth of content. I mean, interesting. I'll put this to you because I listened to your what was it called, the Big Seven podcast you did a few years ago, and I noticed one of the recurring things that pops up every now and then, and it pops up every now and again on Twitter and stuff like that. Is people talk about sort of toxic culture in gaming and stuff like that. But it's interesting because I think the Final Fantasy community is really good at regulating itself, because you always have those people saying, "Oh, we're going to get rid of toxic culture." Those people always pop up. I think in a way it counteracts it in a way. So because of that, it's easy. I feel so much more included than a lot of places anyway. So personally,
it's a little bit weird. Like sometimes on Twitter as well, you get kind of a weird view of the community in a lot of aspects, because you see in a very small snapshot of it realistically, like the bulk of the community doesn't, people who play Final Fantasy games and consume like YouTube content on it, a lot of them aren't even on Twitter and stuff like that. So it can give you a bit of a skewed perspective. And I think that's for any gaming franchise, where you say like, oh, this community is really toxic. It's like, I mean, it is, but only on Twitter maybe, or on Reddit maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, they have their places.
Yeah.
I've had some good experiences on both of those platforms.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had some bad experiences on both of those platforms.
You've got to take it. You've got to take the rough with the smooth, haven't you?
But I think there's something, and I suppose everyone says it's about their favorite stuff, but I think that there's something about the Final Fantasy fandom though that it seems to self-regulate really well. Because I mean, we could go into Star Wars, and I know there's lots of stuff over the years. I don't know how much of a Star Wars fan you are, but
it's been Trekkie, me.
Oh, you're a Trekkie. Well, that's probably another conversation. But
that's another one.
But with Star Wars, like what you may be aware of, recently they've brought out some newer series, and a lot of people are going on about how much they liked the prequel cast, and they couldn't really voice it at the time because they had a bunch of older kids going, it's rubbish, and it became this bunch of kids probably of my age group that were like, well, we really like it, we don't really care that there's midi-chlorians or whatever, we're just going to watch the film and collect the stickers, and we're into it. And obviously, I mean, with Final Fantasy, because it constantly reinvents itself, and every time a game comes out, you get someone going, it's not as good as it used to be. It's like, well,
I've been that guy. I still am that guy.
The thing is, though, is that's part of it, though. It's like it's accepted. That's the way it is. I mean, I saw a start name dropping me, but I saw Ben Starr appeared on. Oh my God, what's the name of the podcast he was on? It was with Biggest Bennis and what's the name of their podcast they do? Oh my God, and he did a quiz with him, and of course, one of them turns around. I think the other Ben, Big said Final Fantasy X is the best one, and Ben Starr goes, incorrect opinion, but it was like, it's part of it, it's this
you'll
cultural,
never get an agreement.
It's this cultural thing, whereas like, I'm not going to have a pop every Star Wars fan, because honestly, I will die if that happens and someone starts attacking me, but they'll come for me. But like, it's part of the Final Fantasy thing to disagree. Like, even when I was a kid, it was just like, nah, 7's better than that, or 8's better than that. And I just think it's, maybe I'm probably over.
I think this is one of the good things about the franchise. Like, there's something for everybody. Like, as long as you're kind of into that general RPG kind of vibe with your gaming, there's something for everybody. Like, you've got the tactics games, you've got the mainline games, which have gone through like old school turn-based to like ATB turn-based, then into more action-based as we've gone forward. And then you've got the side games as well. Yeah. So there's just a little bit of something for everybody, I think.
Yeah, and it's
and the MMOs.
Yeah, well, exactly. Which I didn't know. Well, I knew were a thing, but I didn't. So I watched. Funny enough, I watched Genesis 7 tune into one of his streams playing Final Fantasy 14. I had no idea it looked like that at all.
Yeah.
I knew that Triple Triad was in it, and I know a lot of people played it. Yeah, but I had no idea that it looked more. I think it looks better than RuneScape, but it looks like that kind of isometric-y, not. I thought it would be like a behind perspective. Oh, okay, this looks like my jam. But then again, I try and stay away from that because I know I'll just spend every week an hour. I've stayed away from MMOs. I remember at school, my friend of mine was desperately trying to get me into World of Warcraft, and I was just like la 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 la. Not because I don't like it, but because I'd end up liking it too much, and I would, because there's no end to it. It's just like I keep leveling up. I keep leveling up.
I'm not a massive fan of MMOs in general until you get right to the very, very end game of the MMO, where you're doing raids and stuff like that. Like, I will lose hundreds of hours doing that sort of shit. If I get a good group and we all just hit it, like, that's it. I'm going like Path of Exile. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Diablo type of game, like a loot. Yeah. You just go around and blow all the enemies up and get loot. I'm just hooked. There's a strat at the minute, and me and a couple of mates are running it, and yeah, it's ludicrous. I've lost so many hours. So yeah, 14 I can. I've played it up to the end of Shadowbringers. The latest one's Endwalker, and I've not done the latest one.
I think it is.
Yeah, but I've not done that one.
I mean, I don't like, one of the reasons I started sort of really thinking about it is because there's been fan community events for it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, would I be allowed to go if I didn't play the game? I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, is that something where
be fine?
Of course I would. Like, no one would really, because it's the thing I do. But I'd be like, oh, what do you play as? I'd be like, don't know.
Voyeur, I watch.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just play. Well, that's another thing about games. Anyway, I'm interested. I mean, like now, I mean, I sort of still feel like a semi-outsider of all this stuff, but like watching people play games. I remember when I was a kid, I never would have thought that was something I'd enjoy doing. But now, like, especially with, go on to JRPGs, which is kind of like your main content stuff. Like, there's so many of them out there, and I don't think I'd have enough time to do them all. So sometimes I like pop on and watch someone play, maybe even the challenge run or something like that. I mean, have you delved into the challenge run stuff at all?
Not really. Like
No.
nothing further than like chat shouting at me and telling me to get a platinum, and I get the platinum, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. It's like I've done every Final Fantasy up to 10 except for FF9 at the minute, and I just can't bring myself to do it.
Or getting the platinum? No, that's
I will end up doing it. Chat keep bullying me. It will happen.
Or I mean, if you do that,
I'm gonna have to
jump
cheat.
rope. It's the jump rope.
Well, you can do a remote play thing apparently on PC where there's a script that you can download and it will remote play the skipping for you, so you get it.
I know there's one where you can reprogram it to every jump is 1,000 jumps, so you do one jump and it does it. I know that's a thing.
That was probably on PC, I'm guessing.
Maybe. I mean, I looked into it. I platinumed Final Fantasy VIII because that's my favorite one. Which is you made.
I'm an 8 enjoyer. I'm an 8
enjoyer.
No,
it's my favorite one, and I platinumed that a couple of years ago, and that's quite an easy platinum. The only hardest one's Omega Weapon, which was the first time I beat an Omega Weapon 2 years ago, even though I played Sunk More. That was fun. I mean, it was
a fun game. We did it on stream, like literally about a month ago. I finished it. Like I didn't do the platinum because I did the platinum a couple of years ago on stream, but like we just did a run for fun, and it was good. Triple triad. Oh.
Well, that's another one of those. Yeah, well, that's another one of those ones that's part of. It'd be interesting to hear your opinion because I've been listening to your podcast, and I've noticed you said that you liked 8, and of course, anyone that likes 8, I like chatting to in a bit more detail.
I'm an 8 enjoyer.
But the thing is with 8, right, is that like I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I know Ben Starr's been like Bill flowing the torch.
He's been pushing 8,
right? And off the back of some of that stuff, I made a Final Fantasy 8 video. It's like a 36-minute video, which has got loads of cameos from people in it. I don't know if you've seen that. I'll link it to you. Right? I accidentally plug this every time I speak to people. But basically,
go watch it, people.
Well, yeah, go, yeah. But the thing is about it, like, is that I've been trying to think about. I think I watched someone again. I don't remember who it was. Why 8 became the sort of dark horse of the series
because people hate it a bit, don't they?
Well, when it came out, like I mean, I'm a he's an official PlayStation magazine owner back in the 90s, back, for my sins, and it got like a 9 out of 10. 7 got a 9 out of 10, and throughout that era, it was just as not quite to the same level as 7 with the cultural impact that had, but it was. 9 was in good regard. 9 was the one that was seen as the sort of that's not as good as the other ones. And then I think a lot of it. I don't know if you used to
see. I don't know if this is a UK thing because I agree maybe. That was my experience with 7, 8, and 9. But other people say, "Oh, what you want about 9 was the best one? Are you crazy?" And it's like,
well, I remember 9. 9 was the only one I got like brand new. I think it was been the first few months of getting it. And within weeks it was down to £19.99, which is back in the day
like half price,
half priced it within weeks. It went down and it wasn't as popular. I know that the reviews were good, but and I loved it and I thought it was fantastic, but it just didn't seem to quite like resonate in the UK. So but I'm really interested in working out the history of that because I don't know if you ever watched this would be interesting. Some of the old Flash cartoons on Final Fantasy back in the day, like the Newgrounds ones. Did you ever see any of them?
Oh yeah! Oh Jesus Christ, that's a big memory.
Well, they had
a while ago.
They had one. They had there was always in those days the big things that were content. The Flash movies were made about. There was always the Matrix because that was a big thing.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and Final Fantasy VII. And there is loads of Final Fantasy VII parodies that exist on the internet. You've got there's one where Aerith, or Ares as the time as we used to call her, kills Sephiroth, and then overkills him and stuff like that. And there's loads of daft things like that. But they never really made many parodies of Final Fantasy VIII. And the first real big bit of content as a sort of, other than press and stuff like that, was later on, which was the Spoonie Experiment, who ripped the hell out of Final Fantasy VIII, but comedically it came around the same time as the Angry Video Game Nerd and that sort of stuff, where it became this cultural let's shit on these games
shit
type
on
thing.
Things, get clicks,
and the Spoonie Experiment did Final Fantasy VIII, and that was the first real critique, the kind of content creation of so I don't know, and I can't remember the name of the YouTuber, but I saw someone make a sort of assessment that perhaps that content he'd made had skewed a lot of people's opinion of the game and made them think that it wasn't as well revered as it was, because if you look at the numbers, I mean, I think if you watch those graph videos where
Oh
the
yeah,
most
yeah,
popular thing comes up.
yeah, where it's
Final
just
Fantasy VIII,
constantly moving in the
yeah, well,
graphic.
Final Fantassi VIII
Yeah,
is still, I think, still in like the top 6 or 7 best-selling Final Fantasies. So, like,
yeah.
financially, there's no reason why.
There was a big push behind it as well. Like I remember, like if you bought because FF7 had just gone platinum at that time. If you bought the
Yeah,
platinum version of FF7, you got an FF8 demo disc in
yeah,
it.
that's right. Yeah,
There was other games as well that came out with like an FF8 demo. I can't remember which one it was now, but there was definitely another game. So they pushed it, and it was front cover of PlayStation
yeah,
Magazine one month, if I remember correctly.
that's right. And
So,
there was a demo. It wasn't quite the same level as Metal Gear Solid. We're going back now. It wasn't quite the
oh,
same level as the Metal Gear Solid one, which was I think it was the full. There was 2 games that I think were full because for anyone that might not remember the 90s,
yeah, the good old
there
90s.
used to be these things called PlayStation demo discs, and they used to come with official PlayStation magazine and other things, and they used to have like I think maybe like 10 demos on them, something like
Yeah,
that. But occasionally they do one where it was the cover
one
would be like
big demo.
Tekken 3, and I think Metal Gear Solid as well. I don't think the Final Fantasy 8 one was its own issue. I know it was on there because it's the one where you do the Dollet mission with
Yeah.
Renoa. I've never played it. I really want to go through and play it because I mean, like obviously, I think
I
that like in
think
that game,
I
yeah,
think
I've
I've
got
got a
it. I've
platinum
got.
FF7 somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think that the demo with Platinum FF7 this
Is
this
that
is
the
showing
other
my nerdiness.
version of it?
No, so that's the one that's I think from memory because it's been a long time. That is
The
the
same
one
as
that
in the
has
game.
no, it has the visual demo. So it's got the ballroom scene and the opening. I think
Oh, right.
it's definitely got the ballroom scene because that was the like
Yeah, that
the
was
big
like, look
thing.
at this. Look
Yeah,
how beautiful it is.
yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, I
He's the
had
best looking guy
yeah,
here.
yeah, that's another one. But the thing, I mean, it's interesting because yeah, I just think that I think a lot of it as well is because over the year because they lost the source code for 8, from what I understand. I think
Apparently
it took
so,
a
yeah.
long time to remaster it or release it with trophies. I think maybe
Mm.
that's sort of there's been like an entire generation of people that never really got into 8, and it's only been it used to get its due,
And
doesn't
then
it?
by
I
the
think.
time it becomes available, all they see is people shitting on it. So they're like, oh, should I bother with this?
Yeah, and it becomes a meme, doesn't it? And there's a
Uh,
sort of there's a video game culture thing, and in a way, I like how the video game world we has created an art form out of negatively critiquing
yeah.
things. It has its benefits. Like, we talked about an angry video game nerd, like that he turned the whole, concept of, again, going back to the 90s or maybe even the 80s for some people, of renting a video game on a Friday night
Oh,
and
God.
having to spend your entire weekend. And if it was bad and not being able to
You're stuck with it.
not being
Yeah.
able to compute in your head that it was bad, because I don't remember ever thinking a game I'd rented was bad.
Yeah, you
I
just
just
played
remember
it.
thinking, you just play it, well, it can't be bad because it's made in a shop. Like, you know what I mean? I bought it. It's got to be good. Like, and it has.
Game is game.
Yeah,
I
it's a
will
game.
play.
I don't. It must be me that's bad at it. And there's like, there's an art form around that thing.
Yeah.
That sort of. And there's lots of people that have had prolific careers in games media that have like
Oh,
done
yeah.
that rip on games thing. So but then again, I think like in a sense with Final Fantasy 8, I think a lot of it's probably just because it was the one that was easiest to pick on. Maybe
I
just flip
think
of a coin.
I know a few people complain about like the junction system, and I don't know if it's that they don't get how it works properly, or if I mean a lot of people the complaint is that they don't like the way your magic is consumable
Yeah.
essentially, and I get that because it kind of encourages you to not really use magic. It kind of encourages you to just hit things to death.
The thing is, it was the first. So my history with it was the first one I played, 8,
Oh,
and I know there's a lot of people that go,
so
oh,
I started with 7.
yeah. So the thing is, a lot of people that started with 7 didn't like 8 as much because it was vastly different.
Yes, I've
Uh,
noticed this.
and I think as well because we in the UK we've talked about this before, and I think Europe as well.
Yeah,
7 was our first one, then we got 8. The States had 1 and 6. Is that right? 1, 4, and 6. Which
1, 4, and 6.
1,
Yeah,
2, and 3 at that point.
yeah.
So I think they may have had more of a history of like seeing it being, because if you look at 1, 4, and 6, you there's like through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There's a through line in
There's
there,
a through
yeah.
line of the development, apart from 2, which we don't talk about. There's a through line of development of games and the way that the systems work.
You know what?
And yeah,
I'm
you like
gonna
to.
shock you here. I do. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's possibly the best one on the NES.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
one's quite basic, but
Yeah.
it sets the tone. And nostalgia-wise, 1 is the king, obviously,
Yeah.
because it started the whole thing off. But I kind of really dislike 3.
See
I
that.
get why it never got ported. I understand.
Well, it's interesting with I don't know if you may remember the
Plus,
olden
2 has the
days.
best world map music in the
Well,
franchise. I'm just throwing that out there.
there is that, and to be fair, this is I'm probably going to open you into a more philosophical discussion here. I would like to work. You might know actually because when the term JRPG started being used, because and it might sound like a tangent because in
Yeah,
that
no, no,
game
I'm good for tangents. Let's go.
in that game, like what's interesting about that game is that you level up specific attributes you use, which
Yeah.
is like Skyrim or to a certain extent Dark Souls and games like that that are more
Morrowind,
Western
that sort of
RPG
stuff.
type
Yeah.
things. So I don't know whether that game had an influence on them or because I really like to go and work that through and try and understand where the divide happened. It would be
I think
interesting.
it's kind of a circular thing almost. I mean,
Yeah,
all things stem from Dungeons and Dragons,
of
pretty
course.
much. All
And
things stem from D&D.
yeah,
But I think there was kind of a bit of cross inspiration going on in some ways because I know like FF7, sorry, FF1, that kind of took a bit of inspiration from some of the older RPGs from really back in the day, you know, like Ultima and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure it took a little bit of like from that, but then it took a lot from D&D. So I think when it came to number 2, they were just kind of trying to, I don't know. I think maybe they were just trying to focus down on like leveling specific skills up so you could customize your build. I just don't think they realized how much of a pain in the ass they made it to actually do that. Because like you just have to fight constantly in order to feel good.
I think the reason I'm a bit bitter about 2, is because I can't remember the names of the towns. I remember Firion and Maria and
Yeah. Guy. Guy speaks beaver. Guy speaks beaver.
Those are the 3 characters. It's Leon. Leon's the
Leon,
one, isn't he? There we go. I've got to remember the 4 core characters. And and Minwoo. There we go. Whoa, it's been a long time. It's been a while since I played it, but I remember like you leave the town at the beginning, and in the PS1 version there was like a scene where it burns down, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. That was amazing. Like 2001 or whatever it was. That was like, oh my god, this is incredible. And then you go to whatever town it is you stay in, and then you have to leave. But you can you go but like round the mountains.
Yeah.
You can go back to the town you started in, and the soldiers just are like 20 levels higher than you and they kill you.
Yep. You just
I spent ages, like hours,
no.
training up to beat the soldier. And I thought, well, maybe I'll get like a really good weapon from it, and nothing. And I think that's why I'm bitter about
just normal drops
because of that. Yeah. And it was like I was like, well, what's the point? Like, and that's what irked me because I thought, well, if you're going to design your game, and I think, of course, it's such an old game, it's understandable why, because maybe they haven't thought of that kind of thing yet. But
it's kind of a passage though, like having a moment like that. Like I remember when I first played FF7. So you know when you go to the Chocobo, you leave Midgar, you do Calm, you go to the Chocobo farm, and then you have to go across the marsh and into the Mithril mine. So I hadn't realized that you could use the triggers to change the camera angle yet.
Oh, okay.
And I spent a solid 6 hours running around in that area. Where do I go? I don't know where to go. And all I needed to do was just change the camera angle and see the entrance to the Mithril mine. And you can actually see it from top down, but I just thought, no, it's not that. Turn around, run around this way. Is there anything over here?
I mean, that's really interesting because I played 7 later than 8 and 9, and I sort of like had a friend sort of guide me through the first bit because I've got a really interesting. I say it probably isn't interesting to anyone but me. I've got a really weird history of Final Fantasy 7. And it's only been recently I feel like I'm part of this world now, and that's because I played the Rebirth demo. I felt like I'm in the gang now. So because like I had a friend at school and he was like, I love 7, and I was like, well, I love 8. Let's have a cultural exchange. And then he sort of went off it all. He went off gaming completely, and he was like, because he was really into it, like we're talking it like now. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, I don't like games anymore. And I remember thinking, and it's sort of like I lost interest for a long time. Women?
Is that what happened?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't that. I think he was just weird. But the
fair.
No, I mean, I don't know. I've not seen him since those days. But it was one of those things where, like, I think I had quite a few experiences where I really get into things, which obviously you can tell, and obviously you do as well, and a lot of gamers do. And there weren't that many people that stayed on things for long enough, as far as I was concerned, back in that day. Like we had here we go. This might be thrown. I don't know exactly how old you are, but we had you might remember. Do you remember the Look and Read schools? Do you remember that in the UK? You might have had that. Look and Read. Through the Dragon's Eye. Did you ever watch that?
possibly.
No. So Through the Dragon's Eye was basically like this thing that I think was made in 1989. So we had, but I watched it in like 98. So it made it. It was like a BBC.
If it was on in 98, then possibly, because I was born in 85.
85. So you may have just missed the gap because you might have, because Look and Read was something that started in the 60s and went through to the 90s. So
it sounds familiar.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure
it was this
I
thing with this little
encountered
thing. It was basically teaching kids spelling and stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
there was a story through thread. So you may have been, because I know that were people that were around that were born in the 70s that remember it, and so you may have missed one of the like
just missed it.
Yeah,
I was in the gap,
possibly in the gap, but that probably makes sense. But Through the Dragon's Eye, I mean, it's like a lot of, you go into it's fabulous because it's terrible, right? It's like a 10-part series. It's got the most awful awful costume of a dragon known to man, right? This is a tangent as well, but if you look in the comments on YouTube, it is the most wholesome thing in the world, because it's like there's a big fight between Gorwyn the dragon and the evil one at the end of the series, and like all the comments are like, this was the most epic moment of my childhood, blah blah blah. Like literally people that like my age that watched it, and I got really into this program. And the premise was that these kids were brought out of a school playground in 1989 in their typical 80s clothing, and then dragged into this world where the people in the world, the dragons and all the quirky creatures, couldn't read, so the kids had to teach them how to read. So it was this typical, get kids involved things. Really, really quite a good little educational tool, I think. But the story was like they had to travel.
Sounds better than Teletubbies, to be fair.
It was a lot better than Teletubbies. They had to travel to the other side of the world to collect parts of this thing called the Vita Core. This is really tangential. This.
Oh, we're going deep here. Let's go. I'm getting law.
And it was like probably one of my first experiences of fantasy. It was probably just around the time I got into Final Fantasy, and I remember like being like, this is so cool, and like scripting out the story and like drawing pictures of these characters, and everyone just like, as soon as we moved on to the next thing, people were over it, and I was like, but let's keep talking about. So that's always been me. So like it's only really been in since I realized like late that people are being truthful with this stuff, because a lot of the time I watched I was involved with music a lot when I was a bit younger, and there were some people, it's not reflective of the whole music industry, there were some people that were like, yes, I love that band so much, the Rolling Stones are really good, and they'd never listen to any of their music. People that would like wear like the Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and you'd ask them what their favorite album was, and they're like, I don't know. Like there's a lot of that.
What, a Led Zeppelin a band?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and exactly. So with games, like if someone has a Final Fantasy t-shirt on, they've probably played 10,000 hours of Final Fantasy, and it's real. And I went to EGX in 2019, and I was like, this is real.
I keep meaning to go to an EGX. I think I might this year.
Got to be done. I mean, got to be done. Well worth doing. It's more that the people you meet. I've met so many people through the events, and I mean, everyone remembers me. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know yet. Are you
could go both ways? We'll see.
Are you going to the Final Fantasy Union quiz in London? Are you going to that?
Oh, it's just a bit much from Manchester down to London. It's pretty much 80 quid for me to do a return.
Oh, okay. No, fair enough.
London, and then the night itself, and I probably end up staying there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for one night.
It would be fun though. I keep meaning to get to some stuff like KupoCon as well. I keep seeing KupoCon all the time.
They sell out really quickly though.
Immediately,
like within seconds. So
it's like that thing today. So today you've got Hamaguchi and Katase, is it, in London?
I think so.
Yeah, and that sold out. I noticed the post for it on Twitter.
Oh yeah, another thing.
28 minutes after it went up.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm at the point in my gaming career, if you could call it that, where I'm like, this year is going to be my go to random events thing. I mean, I've done stuff. I volunteered for I'm an ambassador for a charity called Safe No World. It's a video game mental health charity. So I do things, volunteer for things, but that's my thing. So like that quiz, when that came up, I just jumped on VOP tickets. I don't care how much it is. I've set aside a budget this year to do this kind of stuff, because I love meeting like other people.
Oh, so you're going down? Yeah,
I am. Well, it's up for me.
Is it up for you?
I've got a slightly northern accent because my family is. So I'm a bit of a hybrid. My family were northern, and I'm down in Hampshire. So
that's decent. At least it's not that far to travel then.
I'm in a really good place, because actually getting to a lot of the events, as you probably know, tends to either be in Birmingham or in London, and I'm really easy to get to both of those places. So
Birmingham's okay for me. London, like I can be in London in 2.5, 3 hours. It just costs me about 80, 90 quid.
And it's staying in London as well. That's the thing. And of course, because I'm quite close to London, I'm getting to know more people in London. I think the couch surfing thing is something that happens a lot. People do it.
Well, with Comic-Con, with Comic-Con, I went at what time? I left Manchester at 6 a.m. Got to Comic-Con at about 9. Well, I got into the area about 9:30. Stayed for the whole day. Left and got on a train back to Manchester at like 10 p.m. I think I got home at about 1 a.m. It was a big day.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, but doing that for a quiz, while it would be fun, I'd
Yeah.
enjoy it. It would be fun, and I am a bit gutted. I just can't, you know.
No, it's definitely one of those
Would be
things,
fun
isn't
though.
it? Yeah, no, it's cool because I know a few people that are going to be there, and I don't know some people that are going to be there as well. So I know Ben Starr's going to be the quiz master.
And well, I know, is it Daryl from FF Union?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been on a podcast with him before with Baby Seal, so he's a pretty cool guy. So it'd be nice to catch up with him and a few others again.
Yeah, but yeah, well, I'm still sure there'll be more. There'll be
more
yes,
events. Oh yes.
I think there's a real flavor for it now. I mean, post COVID, I mean, we've been bottling up, calling up all this.
People want to get together again now.
Gaming energy, because at the end of the day, to me anyway, I mean, this sort of thing here where we chat like-minded people, that's what it's about as far as I'm concerned. And there's actually sharing the things that we don't agree with, sharing things we do agree with, and those little experiences where you alluded to stuff there about.
You get different perspectives from different people, don't you? And it can change your perspective, which is only a good and enlightening thing in most circumstances.
I remember watching. I don't know if you're a PlayStation Access viewer.
I've watched a fair bit. I used to at least
back in the day. Yeah. So Rob from PlayStation Access. He has he's obviously Final Fantasy and Metal Gear Solid person, resonates with me a lot. But he's also a big football fan. Now I've never been a massive international football fan, but I was never a club football person. Probably because I live in a town and not a city.
Not really got a team.
Yeah. And there was lots of people from moved from other cities, the place I live in, and there was people there was no tribe.
Depending what year it was, they're wearing a United shirt, a Liverpool shirt,
all that stuff, and I always put in goal, so I was a bit bitter about it until the international stuff came around, which was my teacher sort of I was included in that. Let's put it that way. I had actual soccer, and I love my international football, so I love the game, and I'm not. But he talks about liking the same things I liked, and then playing FIFA and liking the football, and I thought, and actually, I felt a bit more included. And I thought, well, actually, here's someone that I would have probably got on with as a kid, who actually liked the thing that I felt like I was excluded from, and that's kind of put me on to that stuff a little bit more, if that makes sense. So, and I think that's the power of this stuff, isn't it? Really, it's nice to sort of disagree.
I play FIFA and I hate myself every time I play.
I can't play FIFA. I've never scored a goal in FIFA.
I'm
terrible. I'm terrible at FIFA.
It's just EA's way of bleeding money off people now, but it is the only semi-respectable football game that exists. So if you want to play a football game, that's what you play. Well, it's not FIFA anymore, is it? It's EAFC.
Is it really? Have they changed it, have they?
They just decided we don't need FIFA anymore. We can just do it ourselves.
We can do our own thing. No, I'm not really a big fan of football games. I remember playing actual soccer as a kid, and that's funny because you can foul people.
Soccer.
And FIFA 97, I remember
playing This is that. Football as well, back in the day on the PlayStation. That was one.
But what's the other one? I've just played through. I made a video on every version of Demo 1. Right?
There was Pro Evo, but back then it was ISS
Pro Evo. I think that's the one I played. I think on the demo, and I remember it being. I made like a really daft joke about
ISS 98 was good.
I think it might have been 97, the one I played, because it has Manchester United on it, and it has what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Oh my god! Again, names. Oh my god, you'll know.
The boss.
Nice. No, not the no. What's his name? Does all the punditry stuff now. God, Gary Neville.
Gary Neville, right?
Gary Neville. He's in it. It's like it's level. It's not Neville. It's like level, and it's got
oh yeah.
It's got like Partner, and it's got like
I love that.
Like Andy Kroll and stuff.
We
like
couldn't
that.
afford the right,
and I made a stupid joke. I made a stupid joke about that in the video. So I remember the point is with that is that you find someone that has your interest, but also something else that you might not have actually been exposed to.
I think this is a good thing about the internet in general. Like, I mean, I assume you're a similar age to me, so we kind of grew
91.
Oh, so like 6
I look older, but yeah.
For me, it was growing up with the internet, though. Yeah. Because I came, my earliest memories of gaming are from before any of the internet was ever in the consumer domain. No. And then just watching it kind of take over, and now it allows us all to things like this where we can all connect with each other.
Yeah, well, I think I'm probably the last. I mean, I've got I remember really early memories of my childhood, and I think I all I'm the oldest, sorry, the youngest cousin other than my younger sister. So
Yeah.
my cousins are all quite a lot older. So they're probably the next youngest one's probably older than you. So there's about eight
So
or
they'd have been
nine
like
years.
in the Atari
Well,
days and
well,
stuff
I
like
but I
that. Yeah.
inherited lots of stuff. So I inherited like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles videos and lots of the '80s cartoons, like the Defenders of the
Yes.
Earth. Like, there's lots of stuff I had as a kid that people that are my age, like 91, 92,
And
didn't
just like,
have.
what the fuck?
So
What are you playing
I'd
with?
probably
What's
be able to
this?
like talk, like sit with you and your mates of your age and probably
Yeah.
have a little bit more in common in that. So there's a lot of that as well. I think it's I remember Do you remember Defenders of the Earth? No one else remembers Defenders of the Earth at my age group. So it's Flash Gordon and Mandrake the Magician
Oh
and
yeah,
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 that
yeah.
one.
I remember all that stuff.
And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Turtles, Ghostbusters. I used to have the
Yeah.
comics. I used to buy the comics every week for Ghostbusters. Oh, it was so good. Oh,
so,
it was so good.
so we must have got into. Did you get Final Fantasy VII on release then? That was your first Final
So
Fantasy,
it was a weird story for me with
right?
FF7. So like this guy that we knew, who was like a few years older than us, him and his older mates used to play footy on the same part. We'd go and play footy on.
Yeah.
So we kind of end up playing each other. We'd lose and get beat up a bit. But he had a copy of FF7. And
Hmm.
one of his younger brothers, I think it was in our friend circle. So he was like, oh, I don't like this, take this. Then he borrowed it to one of my mates who played it a bit and was like, I don't like this. I was like, let me have a go with this. And he got it back about 4 months later.
Hmm.
And that was it. I was hooked on FF7, went out, bought my own copy. FF8 came out, bought that. FF9, bought that. But it kind of like opened me up to RPGs in general
Yeah.
because I'd never really been into them. And then it was like Breath of Fire. All right, I'm going to play Breath of Fire 3. That looks good. Star Ocean. I'm going to play that. That looks good. It just kind of changed me. It took me from, like the normal games that you play when you're younger, like platformers and little
Hmm.
puzzle games, little fun games like that.
Sonic.
Yeah, it kind of moved me on from them and kind of moved
Yeah.
me into that. That and Civilization 2 on PlayStation turned me into a strategy game.
Yeah, yeah. You know
as
what?
well.
It's interesting because my sort of I alluded to there about some of the older stuff I inherited. A lot of that was many TV shows and stuff like that. But like a lot of the times, like I remember my cousins coming down and I had Tomb Raider 1 on PS1 and I got a PS1 late 98, right? So it's probably 99. And I got Tomb Raider, and of course that was the thing at the time. Lara Croft took over the world. I think she was on
Yeah, people
FHM,
loved
the
it.
cover of FHM or something, or
Oh
one of the
yeah, yeah.
magazines with Lara Croft. It was a big deal, and which I don't think is really quite as well remembered now. I mean, people our age group and
Yeah,
around
we
our age
remember the
probably
couple of years where Lara Croft just took over
to rule
the
the world, but
world
like
essentially.
it's
Yeah.
not something that's really like some things have stayed the course, but
I
unfortunately
think
it's a bit of
with I think with Lara Croft, I think like they've kind of reiterated her a few times, but
yeah.
it's not always been to the most favorable reaction. Sometimes people have been like, oh, what have you done to Lara Croft? So maybe that's kind of tainted it a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe. I mean, I
Yeah, I
just
was never a big fan of Tomb Raider. I played it. I played 1 and 2. I think I dropped off after that.
I have been over the years. So like the story was that my cousins played it through and I watched them play it.
Yeah.
So that was probably my first experience of watching someone else play a game back in like
the first
1999.
stream that you watched.
Yeah, like watching
go.
my cousins like, yeah, and you go through here and you get the magnums out, and I was like, what on earth is going on? I couldn't get past the flipping dinosaur, and you're
And then
like
the
going,
T-Rex comes round the corner.
yeah. And then if you backflip here, you go around this. And of course, I remember seeing. I don't know if you ever got to the end of the first Tomb Raider, but there's a scene where you Natla, the main enemy, shoots you and she jumps off a platform. And of course, I remember at the time seeing it looking so amazing. If you look at the cutscene now, it looks horrendous. But at the time, I was like, this is like a film. This is like a film. And of course, you fall off the side and then like land on this platform. This big monster comes out, and it's like the most horrifying thing that a 9-year-old had ever seen in his life. But of course, my other cousins were playing it. So it was like, this is amazing. So like, I have positive memories with Tomb Raider, and I've subsequently gone and beaten. I think I beat that one myself, but they're so long and dated now. I like dated games though. I like something about the old tank control. It takes a while, but you get into the way the game's programmed and it becomes artistic. Yeah.
It sticks. It kind of especially if it's something you played back in the day, like your memory definitely kicks in. Like, oh, I remember this. This is how you do this. Oh, if I do that, it makes this easier. That sort of thing. But yeah, like it is crazy watching the journey of games from back then visually, because like you were saying then, like the visuals in Tomb Raider, like they looked so good back then, and it was like, yeah, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like Final Fantasy VIII when that came out, it was like,
yeah.
What
no.
is this?
I took the Diablos cutscene when the devil comes out of a
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, that's to be fair, the summons still look pretty good, but
yeah,
like I remember seeing that and being like, this is like a film.
yeah.
Like
What's this?
it's I mean, because like around that time was when like the Matrix came out, and of course, like even though I was very young, I saw the Matrix, not in the cinema,
Yeah,
but I saw the Matrix, and that was
everyone
like
saw the Matrix, I think.
how can this be made in a film? And then around the same time, you had your Final Fantasy 8, you had Metal Gear Solid, and like even seven. I mean, I played seven later, and of course, it doesn't look quite as good as 8 and 9, but like
Yeah,
some of the stuff in it is like, wow. I mean, like the
a lot of the
uh
pre-rendered backgrounds are
yeah,
amazing.
and I mean,
Like,
I talked about this recently. I did a video on I feel like I'm plugging my own content a lot. I did a video
keep
on
going, do it. That's what you do. That's what you do.
the best snow levels in PS1 games, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
one of them is the oh my god, the Great Glacier.
Great Glacier. Yeah,
And I think I looked at that when I was like 14 or something, a bit later. And I remember like the scale of the Great Glacier.
yeah.
It's massive. I mean, it's like you've obviously got the bit itself where you've got all the different bits you go around. You've got the snowboarding section, which is just like 10 cool borders level put into one. And then you've
Oh,
got
cool
the top
borders.
down. Yeah, then you got the top down bit, and it's just like what this is
You've
huge.
got to
Like
be
so
quick getting through there as well if you want to get all the things. If you want
yeah,
to get
oh
all them,
no.
you
Oh
got to get Alexander. You got to get all the things.
yeah, see
So
that's the thing with me at seven. So like because I played it later and you can't virtually punch me, but I only actually finished it last year.
that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. You got there in the end. You got there in the end. That's
it
what
was
matters.
yeah, but like so, and I'm amazed at how much of the story I actually haven't been spoiled for me. Of course, I knew the main thing had happened.
The things,
I got to
yeah.
that as a kid, like, and I'd done Midgar like 20 times, so I'm in there, and
You know Midgar like the
I
back
know
of your
Midgar
hand.
really well. Well, that was interesting for me, and it'd be interesting to see what you think of this because like I played Remake
Yes.
and felt like nostalgia because I'd beaten Midgar as a kid. And I
Yeah.
thought, I don't know how I'm going to think of Rebirth because I didn't have as much fondness as that because I didn't
Yeah,
play
that
it as
makes
much as a
sense.
kid. And then when
So
that trade,
how far would you say you got back in the day, roughly? Like the end of disc one, maybe?
I got to on disc one, I think it was maybe not quite there. I'm trying to remember exactly where I got.
Because
I
this
remember
will probably go up to the end of disc. I mean, they've said it's going
I
up to the
remember
end of
seeing
disc
that again.
one.
It's
So
difficult to remember exactly because, of course, the death scene that everyone knows. Spoiler alert.
yeah, yeah. So
Like
you
I
don't know
saw
if you
that.
actually played that or had
Yeah,
that
it's difficult to
spoiled.
remember
Yeah,
exactly. I
fair.
remember playing the Great Glacier, but then again, this is weird. This is where it gets weird with Final Fantasy games because everyone had the guidebooks. So I think part of me remembers like
Yes,
looking
the
at
Brady Games FF7 book.
looking through the stuff like that. But I remember the Great Glacier from when I was a bit
Yeah.
younger. So I
Okay.
think it probably
You'd
around
probably be
there.
good for nostalgia then. You
Well,
probably because we shouldn't reach the Great Glacier. We
the
shouldn't
thing
go
is
that
though,
far.
when that trailer dropped at the State of Play one last year, so there was two reasons that was brilliant for me because like the amount of times I've tried to like tune in for State of Plays and E3, God rest its soul, and all those things
Oh,
live. And I've
poor
never hit
E3.
them live, and all of a sudden, like someone's on Twitter and they're going, "Oh yeah, that was really good." And I'm like, I keep missing it. Well, I keep getting it live. And this is the first one where I think someone I'd followed or whatever right, it's going to be live at 7 o'clock or whatever. I was like, right, okay, I
Yeah,
don't care. I'm dropping everything and I'm making sure that I'm part of
I'm
this
gonna be
thing.
there.
And I
I'm
had
gonna
no
be
idea.
there.
And that one, and I was like, and it got me. And I thought, you know what, this is it. And that was a point where I thought, you know, the fact is that's now. I was happy of the nostalgia, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I felt like this because I thought I don't know if it's going to really hit me the same way that Remake did, but it
And then it
definitely
did.
did. And then it did. Yeah. So it's just, but it gets in there. Like this, I talked about this with I think with Genesis 7 quite a bit. But I mean, Final Fantasy 7, the impact it had. That I think if you were to turn around to like someone that isn't a gamer and say, "Draw me a Final Fantasy character," they'd probably either draw you a Chocobo or draw you Cloud.
Yeah,
Maybe
if they know
Sephiroth.
one, they're
Yeah,
probably
if they know
drawing
one,
something from 7.
it's
Yeah.
definitely something from 7, or they
Maybe now 14 because 14 dug
possibly
pretty
for
deep,
some
like a Lalafell or something like that.
something like that.
But yeah,
they,
probably 7.
yeah, exactly, because that's the kind of like people, let's say they aren't a gamer, you turn around and say name video game characters, they'd say Sonic or Mario probably still, and they may go Minecraft now or something like that, but you
Yeah,
know what I mean,
Steve. Let's go,
yeah,
Steve.
yeah, but like Final Fantasy, they'd be like, oh yeah, and they draw someone with spiky hair. So I think he was kind of synonymous, and that cutout of Cloud, the sort of the artwork that's, I don't know, again I forget who does what artwork. I'd love to know. He's the guy that did the artwork for Parasite Eve too. The the character portraits that are sort of like more drawn.
Yeah, yeah, I know
Yeah,
which ones you
the
mean.
ones that
Yeah,
like appear in the guidebooks and stuff like that,
yeah,
where he's got the sword over his head. That picture appeared everywhere. That was like, I remember that. Like, I look at that, and I think 1997. I remember seeing
yeah.
that everywhere
Well,
because it was
FF7
like
was just everywhere in
everywhere.
general back then.
Yeah,
It was crazy. Like to go from having never seen a Final Fantasy anywhere before to then poof, it's everywhere. Like, oh,
definitely.
okay.
In a way as well, it kind of felt like because I never. I have one friend that I'm uh still friends with now that had Final Fantasy 7. She lived over the road from me, and she was really
Hmm.
into Final Fantasy 7. We used to play games together and stuff like that. We still do to an extent, but like she doesn't live opposite me anymore. And
Yeah, yeah.
but as young kids, and we were all like playing Pokemon. Pokemon was my, I don't know,
Oh,
you might have, I don't know if it passed you
yeah,
by,
yeah.
or
No,
did,
no.
you got
No,
into it, did
we
you?
did the
Yeah.
Pokemon thing.
Oh, you did the
Yeah.
Pokemon thing. But of
We did
course,
the
like
Pokemon thing.
Final Fantasy to me felt like grown up Pokemon. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because we played Pokemon first. That was probably the first JRPG I played. If you could, you know, it's its own thing, Pokemon, isn't it? But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it was the first JRPG with Pokemon. So this is incredible. What's this? And then Final Fantasy came afterwards. And it was like, well, this is like the, you know, the caviar of whatever we're playing. You know what I mean? It was like a bit more like, you know, oh, you play Pokemon, do you? You know, we're going to go and play
It's
something a bit more.
refined.
Yeah, this is a bit more adult. The themes in this are, you know, cheesy teenage love stories. That's far more
Yeah.
mature than.
Excellent. I'm into this.
So that was
This
my take on it. I mean, and it's just interesting seeing how people develop. So we mentioned hot takes. Is there one you don't like that everyone
Final
else does?
Fantasy.
Yeah, that everyone else does, or is there one you feel less of that everyone else really likes?
I mean, I could cheat and say 14 because I'm not really an MMO guy, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest with you. Like the story doesn't hit for me. Like the only good thing about 14 is the raiding at the end of it. You know, like
Yeah,
chasing mounts and stuff like
yeah.
that. I got quite into that, but I won't do that. That's too easy. I kind of, I mean, there's a bit of a split on 16 at the minute, but that's quite a divisive one anyway. I think
Hmm.
you either kind of love it or just kind of to 16. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay. It's fine.
yeah,
It's okay. And I'm kind of like that. I'm kind of in that camp.
yeah. Fair enough.
Nine. It'd probably
Yeah,
be nine for me.
you didn't
Because
like
like
it?
the
Didn't I know?
general, it's not that I dislike it, but it's probably, oh, if it's one that I see, I dislike 13. I dislike 15.
Yeah,
But everybody knows that. And I
yeah.
think it's generally accepted that 13 and 15 are kind of a bit of a low point in the
Mm,
franchise a little bit. I don't know. I mean, obviously the games have their fans and
yeah.
people enjoy them 100%. But I
I'm,
think in general, yeah.
I'm kind of the same, but I mean, I'm kind of one of these people that doesn't like giving up on stuff. So like, I want to try and get round to 15 and 13 because interestingly, both of those games were what got me the console they were on. So I got a
Yeah.
PS3 when Final Fantasy 13 came out. I got a
Oh, yeah.
PS4 when Final Fantasy
15.
15 came
Yeah.
out, and I didn't play that much of any of them. I played other games that came out at the same time. So like I played them a bit,
13
and
and 15 are
they didn't
weird.
hook me. They just didn't hook me. And
I would
I
say
remember thinking,
15's a better game than 13, but it's less of a Final Fantasy.
yeah, I'm actually what kind of put me off 15 was that it was an all male cast. And I don't mean that in a
No,
sense
but
of
you
like,
like to have a bit of a
well,
balance,
yeah, I
don't
like
you?
the
I
balance with
get
the
you.
and
I will
actually,
say
yeah.
the best part of 15 is probably that the bro story. Like
Oh,
it
okay, yeah.
genuinely is probably the best part of
Hmm.
15. And I'm not saying that it's phenomenal because 15 in general, like I said, not the best. But
Mm.
like, yeah, that kind of carries 15 a little bit, you know, the journey, because things happen. There are trials and tribulations,
Yeah,
and the bros pull
always,
together. The
yeah,
bros pull together, and it's a good wholesome kind of
yeah.
story like that.
I think, I mean, I'm
But I
sort of
get
like,
you that you do like diversity in
I
games. You
think
know,
so,
you
and that's
want to
why
see a mix.
because I really like nine. Nine, I mean, if they announce a nine remake, I think you may have said this. It might have been you that said this. Like, I prefer them to release an eight remake first and not skip it out
Yeah,
because I think, and actually, I've made this argument
I
in
feel
my
like
video.
nine needs it more though,
Do you think
because
so?
I think nine, right? So nine has got brilliant characters and a brilliant story, but it runs like shit.
No,
I've
no,
always thought it
yeah. No,
runs,
okay,
and that's
yeah.
one of the things that really annoys me and puts me off. Nine
Mm,
combat's really
it's
slow.
really slow.
The
Yeah,
frame rate on the world map and stuff like
yeah,
that's quite janky. And I get
yeah,
it; they were pushing the PlayStation to
yeah.
its absolute limits. But I think if you remade nine and just fix that stuff, I'd love it. Oh, and fix Tetramaster, fix or
Oh, well,
delete Tetramaster.
yeah. So like, so my take on it because I played the whatever they call it, the remaster on PS4, and you can speed it up, and that kind of like fixes a few things, but then again, it's like it doesn't completely balance it out because
No, because it goes too fast. Then
yeah, it's
in
too
a lot
fast.
of
Yeah,
instances,
it's
yeah,
yeah, so it's yeah, I get you.
yeah,
But I can probably get on board with that. I think the reason I think that 8 needs a remake more though is because of how resonating the story would be. Because I made this argument in the big long video I did. 8's a post-war story, right? And
mm.
because we've just had COVID, it's not war, but because we just had
No,
COVID,
but it's yeah,
and there's been this traumatic world event. I think the story will resonate more with people because the thing is, eight. I think what we talked about why we think 8 has been
yeah.
the sort of dark horse, but
The
it's
story does get crazy in
the
it.
story.
Let's not.
The story is
Yeah,
well. My argument with it is the story is
I was all about the Squall is dead theory. I
yeah,
thought
well
they should have just leaned into that and ran with it.
well, I think I'd sort of go one step out from that. It might sound really pretentious, but I think that that does work. The Squall is dead story,
Yeah.
but the point is, I think, is it's supposed to be the world's broken, like in it, and the world, which would fall in with the fact that Squall is dead, that would tie in with that. But the world is basically a reflection of the cast themselves because they are traumatized kids, right? And one of the things that I have seen as a critique is that it's kids saving the world. But actually, if you look at the storyline, and it's not narratively dealt with that well. I think probably to do with the fact that, how old the game is and how they don't have the NPC stuff they do now, where you can walk past, like in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where you walk past people in Midgar and you hear a bit of chat. Like where the fact you go around 8 and everyone's a kid, and it's because you've just had this war where all the parents have gone off to fight and not come back, and that the orphan bit, and I think the whole point is that all these, because you only see the main cast, is that most people in the game are orphans.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that they didn't remember each other
because they were
people
probably in each of the gardens.
Exactly. So I think
you've got 3 gardens full of pretty much exclusively teenagers and kids.
If it was remade, it would be more like, because they all go to Adea's house, and it would be more like if Adea's house was massive and had hundreds of kids in it, and they met each other as kids, and then years later realized that I remember it was you. Oh, that would be like,
they could clean it up a lot
more. That I think that's probably what they were going for when they made it, but because of the limitations of the fact that you could only have certain things rendering, I think that's probably my take on it. Because like you look at the sort of I don't know what the word is, that the Squall versus Laguna thing, where they're both opposite characters, and of course there's been that time split. You've got this guy before a war, then going through a war, and then the post-war children. I think that's something that's like it sort of it went for some, it tried a lot of risks, and it sort of went for some sort of story threads that may not have been sort of may not have resonated as much, because around the time in the 90s you obviously had like
slightly more obscure storytelling.
Yeah, well, they did. They went
like
for
letting you kind of piece it together a little.
Well, they
bit
went
more
for a
school
days vibe, didn't they? Like you're at a school, and that's something that, like, if you watched any anime or cartoons around that time, that was the thing that was on at the time, and it may not have resonated with some of the older fans. So I can kind of, I mean, we talked at the beginning, why is 8 become a bit revere, but I think it's very niche. But I think now with the way the world is, I mean, I think you talked about on your podcast about how a lot of the environmental stuff from 7 resonated with a lot of people. And I mean, when I played Remake 4 years ago, God, that's flown by. When I played that, I remember thinking, this is so like, they're not ramming it down your throat, but it's like, oh my God, like this is the same. But it's like, wow, like, and then playing 7 properly all the way through last year, I was like, oh my God, like the cries of the planet and like, we need to look after the planet. It's, oh my God,
to warn us.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my God, this was being talked about in 97, because I remember as a kid, like, we did like, we're running out of fossil fuels. Anyway, on to something else. But like now it's like, no, we need to do something about this, otherwise we're in trouble.
We should really talk about this fossil fuels thing a little bit.
But I think from a more social perspective, I think 8 is probably more. I would always fight its corner, because I think
possibly have a better chance of like hitting its target a bit more, especially if they did clean it up a little bit. Like gameplay wise, perfect. I have no issues with 8 gameplay wise, but clean the story up a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Just how it's told, and I think I mean, I don't know. I'd love to. I think as time's going on, obviously now we're getting more connection with the creators and stuff like that. I think they make stuff that would come out about it. I think the limitations of stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if because if you play 8. oh god, it's great to talk about this in depth with someone. If you play 8, right? I mean, I love it. I think it's fantastic. But like, you get to the control of the garden, right?
Yeah.
And then if you really want, in 10 minutes, you can finish the disc and you cracking on with the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But that's the point where it opens up. And the way that 7's built, and this is, there we go. I've got an argument point to get to. I'll spread back to 7. After Midgar, the world opens up.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of linear in a sense.
Yeah.
But
you've got a path to follow, yeah, definitely.
But all the side quests you can sort of dart off and do as you go through.
You're progressing, yeah.
Which is what I liked about 16. I mean, we're telling you, but someone raised a point the other day, and this is like you're more embedded with all the theory casting stuff, which I'm in awe of, by the way. That's the theory casting stuff, because I wish I could do some of that stuff, and I wish I had enough knowledge and could keep up with it to be able to do it.
Like, I just come up with an idea and waffle.
Well, I like to. I mean, I'll big you up a bit now, actually, because I think that the big 7 stuff you did, because of course I'm again, 7's not. It's probably on the same level for me in terms of quality and what I like, but my knowledge of it isn't as big as 8 or 9 or some of the other ones. And I always found it quite overwhelming with some of the theory cast stuff. It's really, really impressive. And I'm like, I can't keep up with this. But that series of things you've done, I'm actually halfway through listening to them all now, the big 7 stuff. It's a good entry point, because like the way you've scripted it, I don't know if this was intentional, but the way you've done it to talk to people, and it's like
7 questions for everybody.
I get this. Like I feel like, because of some of the guests I listened to, I listened to Schrodinger's Baby Seal.
Yeah.
Up the first one, I think, from memory.
Yeah, I think I listened Baby Seal for.
I think it was Lully Bunny as well. I think she talks about like her experience of playing or watching Advent Children first before 7, and I thought, well, this is cool, because you've got a whole diverse range of people and their different experiences of experience. And that's one of the questions, is like, how did you get into it? And I thought, this is really cool, because you're not sort of, not that I'm suggesting anyone in the community has done this, but like you're not putting yourself on a pedestal and going, I know everything. You kind of go, well, hang on a minute, let's have a bit more of a discussion about it. And I think it's a really good entry point to, if anyone, there we go, plug your
There's
stuff.
There's a lot of stuff as well that people, because I kind of bullied people into giving me predictions at the end of the video, like, so make a prediction, just put yourself on the spot, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And some of it's looking pretty good. Some people's predictions are shaping up pretty good.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I'll probably say something and then someone will probably disprove me. What I'm concerned about is I'll go, I reckon this, and they'll be like, well, actually, if you look in trailer 2 at 15 seconds in, that can't happen.
To me all the time.
That's the sort of stuff I'm a bit like,
It still happens to me. I'll put a video out there. Like I did one the other day where, which one was it now? So when we got the most recent trailer, the Destined for Rebirth one, that big weapon shows up again. And I'm kind of talking about it, and I'm saying, Tifa. I think it looks like a Sapphire weapon. I think it looks like it could be a redesign of Sapphire weapon, maybe. And people are in the comments like, no, it's been confirmed that it's definitely a new weapon. So where have you been? And it's like, all right, fair enough. I take it though, because I can't remember everything.
Yeah, okay. I that makes me feel a bit better, because I love rambling. The thing is, I I don't know if you've been on or have seen the Final Fan TV podcast.
I've seen a few,
seen a few, and he the guy that runs that, he throws a lot of comedy in, and like me with my humor, I'd be like, let's make up a silly theory, but I wouldn't want to like feel like I'm in like parodying the people doing it, if that makes sense, because I don't want to like be insulting to a bunch of people I'm trying to be friends with. I remember years ago, and I've been looking for this recently, because I've been doing tiers list stuff recently.
Oh yeah.
And which is actually surprisingly fun to do, and actually
tier list
does quite well video view wise. But there was a thing years ago, and this is going back to another thing from the FAQs back in the day on the internet.
Game FAQ,
game facts, as I used to call them.
Beautiful website.
So
Absolute
I remember
Steve made some of the best guides I have ever read.
So I'm going to look through it at some point. I might be making a tier list on this, potentially, if I can find it, because there was a guide years ago. I remember I associated that with 9, because I did a lot of the additional content in 9, like the Chocobo Hot and Cold, and which is a lot better in the speed up, like the Chocobo Hot and Cold and that stuff. And I remember thinking like this is cool, because I'm looking for treasure. It's amazing.
Yeah, this is the thing with 9. There's so much good stuff in there.
Yeah,
there's so much good stuff in there. It doesn't make me love it yet. I kind of appreciate it, but I don't love it yet.
No, that's fair enough. But my memories of the game
Yeah.
are, a lot of them are with me sat there with a thing I'd printed off and made drawings of, like that stuff.
Yes.
So like, yeah, and that's like a part of, like, well, that's something that
I got
you
in
know.
so much trouble at school once
Oh,
for
did you
printing
really?
off
Oh,
a
right.
Final
What's the
Fantasy
story?
VIII guide, the whole
Really?
thing. It
The
was
whole
like
thing?
97 pages. The teacher's just there looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, what? I pressed it by accident. I couldn't cancel it.
So you're the sole reason why they started giving us print
Maybe,
quota things.
maybe.
That was probably that your story went around all the schools, and it was like,
Should have
this
seen him.
one kid, this game Final Fantasy, and that's probably why Final Fantasy VIII is the dark sheep of us.
That's
See,
it. I caused it.
it's
Shit.
your fault. Yeah, that's it. That's
Shit.
your impact on the Final Fantasy community right there.
I'm sorry, Squall.
See, it's that sort of stuff, like that sort of daft that makes no sense. To like in one of the FAQs, and I'm gonna look for it tonight.
Yeah.
Probably it's difficult on your phone looking for it and word
Yeah.
search for it. One of them had a section in the back which was rumors from Final Fantasy IX that weren't true, and I remember reading it. And there's one like when there that's like Puck murders blank or something like that. If you go to a certain, and there's loads of stupid stuff like that. And I don't know whether it's the guy that's written the FAQs just put them in for a laugh. But I want to find him because there's loads in there. And I remember I've got to find that and then do some
I don't
tier list.
remember many for 9, but
No.
I remember a lot for FF7. There was
Yeah.
a lot of weird little stories about
You can
how
bring
you
Aerith
could get
back to
master
life.
materials, you could bring Aerith back to life and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Even like, do you remember the Pokemon ones as well? How you could, it was the truck face in the SSR.
Oh yeah. The music with strength. Get
you
Mew.
could get the missing. Oh, Mew, that was it.
Yeah.
You can't get to it.
Yeah. Well, this is something I've talked to a few people about actually. This era of myth. game myth, because now you can immediately debunk them, like immediately.
Done.
Because it's like, well, that's bollocks. And you know, like
did it even get printed in magazines back in the day though? Because people would write, like, do you remember like the writing, the fan letters section in magazines? People would write things in and just put blatant lies in there, and they'd print the shit.
The big one back in the day, we talked about Tomb Raider. The big one was you can get Lara Croft to take her clothes off, right? Okay. What I liked about that rumor is that the devs, when like they took the piss out of whoever came up with it, basically, because there's a scene, I think it's the end of the second game, where like Lara's in the shower and she shoots the screen. So it's like basically a sort of,
no, you don't,
2 fingers up to these desperate men that wanted to see polygonal tits and in their on the PS1.
It was a big thing, wasn't it, back in the 90s? And it's like, bro, the fucking triangles, what are you doing?
Yeah, totally. but the thing is, like, me as a kid, I was like 7 or 8 when I played this, so there was never anything like sexual.
You weren't in that mindset.
It was just like when people were like saying that, it was just like, that sounds funny, haha. And they did a joke like on what's it called, the exploding Lara. And the exploding Lara, so if you put in a certain code and jump around, Lara explodes. That was written, as far as I know, this is the way that the story's told. The exploding Lara cheat was made by the devs for the second game and then put in as an actual hoax. That's how you get Lara naked. So it would literally blow up in these silly people's faces. They get it in a magazine and go, "Oh, so you get her naked," and they do it, and then she blow up. That's the story. I don't know how true that is. I hope it is. I hope it's some guy sat there in flipping office going, you know what?
I love it when devs do stuff like that, though.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think that's true.
Did you play Witcher 3?
I didn't play Witcher 3. I played like 10 minutes of Witcher 3, and then when
so
that's going to take too much more time.
Of Witcher 3,
right?
The first town that you come to, there's like a little pen, a little enclosure. Right. It had like 3 or 4 cans. Right. It had like 3 or 4 cows in it, and people just farmed them for XP constantly and made themselves really beefy. So CD Projekt Red patched in a monster that comes and destroys you if you kill more than. I guess if you kill your 3rd cow, this enemy that you cannot kill. I mean, people have killed it, but most people will get decimated by it if it comes near you.
I do like things like that. There's one. I don't know how much of a PC gamer you were back in the day. Do you remember like DOS games and stuff like that?
Oh yeah.
Right. So, or it might have even been a Windows game. It's a Windows game called Ski Free. Right. It's like it's like you point on the right. So Ski Free, it came with like, I think it came with like Windows 3.11 or whatever. And
was it one of the built-in ones?
One of the built-in ones, like Solitaire and
oh no, I don't think I played that.
What was the other one that was built in? Everyone played. Oh, Minesweeper. But this one, like, it's basically like a white screen, and you're going down, and you got the characters going down the screen, and I featured it briefly in my PS1.
Was it like
Snow
a slalom
levels
kind of thing?
Yeah, but your character's like going down the screen, right? And you go down, and at the end of it, when you get your score, if you keep going, a Yeti comes down and eats you, right? And I saw that as a kid, and I was like, what is this? But like, if you go, I was like, I'm going to get away from the Yeti as a kid. And you can actually like get your skis and like walk horizontally. against the mountain, and it takes ages. And eventually, if you get to like a certain amount of pixels over, the Yeti comes out and hits you anyway. So it's like an out of bounds thing. So like clearly they went, right, we're going to work out, some kid's going to think they're really clever and trying to get out of the screen. So like, I love, like they said, someone in the game is making thinking, right, how can we mess them up? How can we do something?
Wouldn't you? If I was a dev, I definitely would be like, right, what am I messing with people with today? How can I screw with the gamer?
One of the infamous ones. I was never really an Xbox person, but I played Halo on PC, and and there's one in that where I think it's if you play on legendary difficulty and then run around at the beginning of the game, you can find Meg, which was someone like he was I think he was proposing to his girlfriend or something like that at the time. It was the Meg. It was the big thing. It is there. It's definitely there.
No way.
It's not a myth. Yeah. So like, and I don't know the rumor. Maybe the story like was added that he got fired for doing it. I don't know how true that is, because it's called the Meg. Yeah, look that one up. That's interesting. Like
Have you ever watched Larry Bonder Jr.? So they've done a lot of videos where they find things like developers back in like the 80s have left in games. And I mean, I'm talking like full rants talking about how much this developer hates their boss. Just a big rant in the middle of the code, just commented out, and then they've carried on coding. And just finding things like that in old games. So it's, you would though, wouldn't you? You'd want to sneak something in.
Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons we alluded to.
I think the Meg might be a bit much.
Maybe
it's a bit noticeable that.
Like, yeah, and it's also like, I think the way you got to get it to generate is if you're on legendary difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty, and you've got to do something you shouldn't be able to do. So it's really hard to get to. So it's like,
still quite obscure then.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, I'll get my girlfriend to see this, and I'm like, oh yeah, come and watch this, love. And he sits there and he's like, keeps dying trying to get to
it. Do it.
I can't. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure on the exact story, but it's
why?
But that sort of stuff. I mean, the rumor, because that is true. I've seen that in game, but that sort of thing, like a lot of it was just probably some kid on a playground made something up which went round and everyone jumped on. Because I remember one like I read on like dial-up. Might have been after that. I might have just had broadband, but it was one of them, like, you know, you use it at school computers or something, and you print off because you've got better internet at school, that kind of stuff. And I printed off a guide for Pokemon Gold.
Nice.
And it was to get Celebi, right? The 351st Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it was like this really ridiculous, like long thing where you had to, and basically, as you probably know in Gold version, that you can walk around Johto and Kanto, and you can get there on foot, and you can walk. You basically, without using the train or flying, you can get around the entire map. And it tells you to start at one place and go all the way around the entire map and surf back, and then catch a certain Pokemon and call it Viva. I remember we called Viva, and then go in to speak to a certain person, and then you get Celebi. And I followed this guy. It took me like 2.5 hours, and I was like, got to her, and it didn't happen. I was like,
some people just don't think of the consequences of their actions.
And some because some idiot had gone, which would be really funny to wind someone up. And like, it works in school if you turn around to your mate and go, yeah, if you do that, like, and then they come in the next day and you're like, hey, that's funny because it's a wind up to your mate. But like, if you just like, it stays on the internet, like, and then someone discovers it 5 years later and then goes, okay, but you know,
I'm quite upset about this now.
Yeah. You're like, I've spent like my entire Friday afternoon trying to do this flipping thing that turns out to be ridiculously untrue, and then you stop believing the real things that come out. Like, no, you can't do that. So I suppose it's I mean, we've talked about Final Fantasy and we've gone off on tangents, which is always good, and I was hoping that would happen.
Always happens.
But you've obviously touched upon, like, I think looking at the tagline for your channel, you talk about JRPGs mainly.
Yeah.
Are there like any other games you've got that? Firstly, what was the first game you ever played? Because that's the question to ask everyone.
So it was either, I remember back in the day on the NES, I had it was the twin cartridge, Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. It was one of them, I'm quite sure. I'm not sure which one I will have gone for first, but it was one of them. It was definitely one of them.
That's cool. So you were an OG NES kid. That's cool. I remember I had I played a NES. My sister, but when she was 2, she was in hospital. She had she was in the hospital for a couple of days. She's fine. It's not like anything long term. But I'm 3 or 4 years older than my sister, so I was
in a little room, didn't they?
Well, I was in the children's ward with all these kids, and they were all these sick kids, and they had this NES, and I remember seeing these NES games piled up to the ceiling, and I was like. And I was the only kid that was like able to go and get them because I was the only one that was well. So I had to go and get this like big stack of NES games, bring them along. And I remember sitting there round the wheel-in TV playing in NES.
Love it.
And after that, because I'd been a good boy, because my sister wasn't well, I got bought a Game Boy. So that's my memory. I remember playing the NES and being like, wasn't the first game I ever played, but it was like, this is incredible. There's like literally like, I mean, you can probably see on my shelf all the games I've got now, so it's not that amazing. But like as a kid, like
it was just a
6 or 7 year old, it was literally like
walking into Toys R Us and
like up to the ceiling. Like this is insane. There was like an entire cupboard of NES games. It was like, oh my god, how many can I carry? I think it's about 30 like this. And I remember like Maniac Mansion and Boy and His Blob and Mario
Turtles
and
game on NES.
The Turtles game. I remember playing all of them like for the 4, 5, 6 hours I was there. I can't remember staying overnight. I can't remember, but like that really like resonated with me because I remember thinking this is the coolest thing. Like that's probably where the communal thing with games came from for me. Like there was these 6 kids. How can we feel better? It doesn't matter. What I've got in common with them is that we like playing games. And and you know like work. How do you do that? How do you what? I remember this is so long ago now, but I remember the whole which what is it in Boy and His Blob? You got beans or something you throw at the blob. I don't know if you ever played Boy and His Blob. And like one of them turns into a ladder or something like that. And you had to work out which one was which, and it was I remember working that out. Well, I reckon that one does this.
Was so obscure in some of the stuff that they made.
I remember that. It was just insane. But all right, so I guess which was the first game that really like got you then? Was it Final Fantasy VII that really like made you feel you were a gamer or really like resonated and made you feel like, wow, this is something I'm really into?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. So I had the NES, but then around the same time as that, we had an Amstrad as well, which I don't know if you'll have ever, because they were kind of gone by the 90s. Yeah, the cassette loading ones where the monitor and the keyboard came as like the set thing. Yeah. I remember playing that a fair bit. And then I ended up with a Master System because like I did Mega Drive was just no. I ended up with this. It was kind of like, do you want a SNES or do you want a Mega Drive? It's like, I'll have a SNES, please. So I didn't get a Mega Drive either. But then I think we were at a car boot sale or something, and someone was selling a Master System with, I think it had Alex the Kid built in.
Yeah.
And then it had a Sonic cartridge as well. So I think it was the Master System 2.
Yeah.
I think this was years after it came out as well. I just thought, oh yeah, I'll have that. Thank you. Yeah. But then like I had an Amiga as well, and I've still got my Amiga and like so many games on the Amiga. So I kind of always was into gaming.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of changed when I got to Final Fantasy. It wasn't so much it got me into gaming, it changed how I looked at gaming in a lot of ways. Because like prior to that, I'd just play whatever. Just like, there's a game, cool, let's play.
Yeah, just a general, like you watch a film or read a book or
let's
play
go,
a game, play a sport or something. Yeah.
Let's do the thing,
Yeah,
but
totally.
Then after that, it became, RPGs are pretty good.
Same to me with Final Fantasy VIII. Before that, I played a lot of games with my dad as a kid, and I played lots of DOS stuff, and then that experience explained to you there. Like, it was a communal thing. Point and click adventures, and I loved those things. They were great. Yeah. But then Final Fantasy Final Fantasy VIII, sorry, for me, it was like, this is my thing. Like this is like something I'm part of. That's
super into this.
And and it was, I mean, like there were less people than now. Well, obviously there weren't less people, but like it's easy to find people that have the same interest. I mean, there was only probably one or two other kids at school that even liked Final Fantasy from memory.
Yeah, I was reasonably lucky because like in school there was like 4 or 5 of us that were all into it. So it was like, oh, we've got a group. Yes.
I had one friend that was really into. There's one other friend that had like, I think he was like trying to join in and he didn't really get it. Like, which is fine. Fair enough. When we were like playing on playground and pretending to be the characters, he get involved with that. So I'm not dissing him at all. It was fair play to him, But one friend, and we used to like race the game, not in the same room. We'd be like, I'm going to try and get to the end of like disc 3 of Final Fantasy VIII first. And we do that a lot. I mean, we did it with other games. We did it with other games. We did like Rayman 2. I remember like racing that one a lot and stuff like that. But that's that you can do it all online now with like people that are like so good at the game, and you're like, I thought I was good at this, and then you realize there's like thousands of people that
fighting games. I used to think I was okay at fighting games. I used to think I was not bad at fighting games, and then I played, I think it was Dragon Ball Fighter Z online. Oh my god, I stopped playing it.
No, you do, because you just get depressed, don't you? You're like, this is the worst thing in the
I just
world.
got beat up over and over again.
Smash Brothers Melee, right? Smash Brothers Melee on the
I'm
GameCube.
awful at Smash Brothers
Right,
as well.
so I thought I was quite good at that. Me and my mate played it for a few months solid. Like, it's probably the game I've sunk the most hours into. Like I mean, again, it's not I wouldn't call it a throwaway game in the sense that it's bad, but it's not an engaging story. It's
just a casual game you can pick up and play.
It's a casual game you can pick up.
I feel like that about FIFA. Like I can just pick it up and play a few matches of FIFA.
Totally.
Fine.
But the thing is that me and my mate like practiced for ages, and we went to an event. And it wasn't a Smash Bros. Event; it was a convention, and we played with some random kids, and we got our asses kicked. We got our asses kicked. It wasn't even Smash Bros. So it wasn't like we were going to good. So it's people that were casual players as well. I mean, we were just like, this isn't going to work. We're not going to do it. So it's impossible. You're like, yeah, all right, I thought I was good at something. It's nice.
Nope,
like,
not good at that.
I did a bit of speed running. Like I did a bit of Devil May Cry speed running, and I've added some stuff to that community. Where like I've made my stamp on it because they used one of my little strategies in it that was developed. The only reason that was is because me and my mate did. I don't know if you ever played Devil May Cry. Good stress.
Played the older ones.
The first
not
one.
Played the newer ones. Yeah,
the very first one. Well, like me and my mate used to literally. This is different, mate. Used to race it in the same room, like back about 5 or 6 years ago. Because it was the only game, because he was a Nintendo kid, I was a Sony kid. So it was the only game we both played, because we both got a PS2, right? Yeah. So we thought, well, we'll race this because we know the game really well. And you can clear the game in like, after about 5 playthroughs within an hour. Even if you're not that good at it. And
you know what you're doing, you know where
you can do that. So we ended up like racing in the same room. And of course, we played on the easy mode. Now, most of the runners play on normal mode, which is a very different game. So because we played it so many times on easy mode, there's like little.
You thought that was normal at that point.
But the point is there's little differences that like actually now that we played. I actually commentated on a speed run during lockdown of him racing someone, and because of the way we'd played it. Like it had introduced people to the game like in slightly different ways, and my little strategy, it's like a random little bit that's throwaway. It's now something they use in the world record strategy. Yeah, it's not. I'm not saying like I'm any good at it.
No,
at all,
you did it.
It's like
I'm
part of that little thing, and it's nice because someone like asked who came up with that, and they remembered it was me that did it. So it's really nice to sort of like. Yes, that's what I love about. That's what I love about the I mean, we talked about toxicity in some places, but things like that are so good.
I keep intending to speedrun something, just to give it a go. But then every time I try and do it, I just end up just wandering around and talking to people and doing little side quests.
And the problem with it, I mean, I love watching people speedrun. There's a someone I had on the show before, Lumi Laura, who is the world record holder for Spyro the Dragon.
Nice.
She's great, and I watch her streams. One, they're really really funny, and the community there has some great humor. That's just my sort of humor, just daft silly humor, and she's great watching someone speed run and like incredibly and looking at something and thinking this looks really easy and trying it and going nope, can't do that.
Yeah, it's like Caleb who does FF7, Caleb Hart. Right. He speedruns FF7. It's amazing to watch, and it's like some of the people like about Suna mods and stuff like that. The ones who did FOS and that. So like some of them have come up with some of the skips that are used in the world record FF7 run and stuff like that, like the calm skip and that sort of thing. And it's just crazy. But then every time I go to do it, it's like, right, I could just go and talk to this guy for a minute. I'm just going to go and talk to this guy. And
that's the thing with Final Fantasy. The only one, I mean, we talked about 9 and that's not doesn't resonate too much with you, but like that's the only one that's really, I guess you could argue, designed around speedrunning because you can get the Excalibur too.
Yeah. And that's one of the trophies on the platinum. That.
Yeah. And I know I spoke to name dropping now, Mutski, who's one of the top Final Fantasy 9 speedrunners. I think he's one of the only people that's done the 7, 8, and 9 24-hour streak. He did it 24 hours. He beat all 3 games or something. He's like 3rd on the list. Yeah, I know. Yeah, like that's it. Part of me wants to do like. Yeah, I know. Yeah, plays all 3 games in one go. Yeah, it's amazing. I've not watched the whole thing. I've like watched bits of it, but he did that, and there's like 3 of them that have done it. And I spoke to him, and he was saying like, it's great to like get into it. And the community's got little different strategies you can throw in. And I tried using that to try and get the Excalibur 2. Got to a point in the game, went nope, can't do it, and then just used a speed booster and got it I mean,
that's the way to do it with that. Just speed boost everything.
So I think that's the only one of all of them that like because it's probably designed that way to get that item, do it quickly.
Yeah, you've got that reason to get to the end.
Yeah,
quick.
And I think the devs probably went, well, actually, let's tweak this a bit so that it is, like easier to do. Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you because they're role-playing games. You just want to go and play cards. So I couldn't.
I just want to do random shit.
I want to go and play triple triad for 5 hours and get all the
You think I'm going to
stuff.
speed run Final Fantasy VIII? Are you mad?
I'm not going to speed run this. I want to enjoy it. I want to, and I tried doing it quite quickly, and actually Final Fantasy VIII, because of the way it's designed, it will kick your ass.
Yeah.
Unless you play it the way you know it, because it's so easy to sort of manipulate, so to speak. It's so easy to make your own thing. Like if you try and speed run like that, like I tried to do.
I'm a slow runner. That's why I am.
Yeah. Well, this my friend can beat Ocarina of Time in about 8 hours, which is like compared to the speedrunners is nothing. And that's actually
still pretty impressive.
He's played it since it came out, and I thought, well, I'll try and like roast Final Fantasy VIII. I did disc 1 in like 6.5 hours, and then I thought, well, I'll carry on from disc 2, and the flipping the BHF, whatever it's called, tank, that's the missile base, just hammered
the blue one, with the 6 turrets.
Because if you don't, unless you've prepared for that, you think it's really easy when you're fully junctioned. It really
this is the mad thing about speedrunners, though, because they're getting through the game really quick, but they've still got to beat some of the harder bosses.
Yeah, and I mean
on minimal gear, minimal levels.
On 7 as well, like because I've only finally beaten the full game this year. I've still not done the super bosses. I really want to do them because I've tried them. I tried Ruby and Emerald, and I was like, "What?" I did the one that runs around the world map. It's Ultimate, is it?
Ultimate.
I did that one. That was okay. It was more annoying finding him than anything. And I did the years ago on disc 1. I did the Omnislash doing the battle arena. So I've done that, which is on Omnislash on disc 1. That is the hardest challenge I've done in Final Fantasy 7 because that is a nightmare. Did it though?
Doing it on disc 1 as well. Like, I just
so I could do it.
And, you've got to do it once. You've got to do it once.
And I got Knights of the Round. I got the Chocobos and stuff like that. It was really, really good fun. But I haven't done the 2 weapons. I tried, and I was like, what?
So there's specific tactics to each of them. So with Emerald, the more materia you've got equipped on your characters, the more damage one of its big attacks does. If you wear too much materia, you just get one-shotted. So
I guess that it's one of those things that's difficult to do without actually having the strategy guide or now the videos online, because
Knights of the Round and Mimic should carry you through.
Emerald. I've seen that one.
Ruby, you need to learn how to do that one because you kind of have to go in with 2 characters dead so that it buries its claws in the sand. And then you can do the fight. But there's a few different tactics for it. I tend to personally use W summon Hades followed with Knights of the Round because Hades will stun it. Then you can use Knights of the Round without it countering with Ultima on you. And you can just do that. But there's so many different strats for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get around to it eventually, I think, because I've got so many other games to get through. So on the JRPG front, have you played any more? Have you played Sea of Stars?
I have.
What did you think of Sea of Stars?
So Sea of Stars, for me, it doesn't do anything particularly ingenious, I don't think, but what it does is it takes the best bits of the whole JRPG franchise genre and just goes bam, there you go, have that in a game. It's so good. The music's amazing.
I loved it.
The story's nice and wholesome.
It's not.
Story's nice and wholesome. It's just good. It's just
I
good.
really enjoyed it.
I
think I preferred 16 to you. I think 16 resonated with me because of the story.
A bit more,
Final Fantasy 16. So that's my game of the year for 2023.
I enjoyed the story in 16. It was okay. The characters carried it for me. The characters were the big thing, like the performances by the voice actors, some of the characterization, like what's his name?
Ben Starr.
No. What's his name? Gav. In the game, Gav.
Yes.
Like some of the characters like him. The blacksmith, the chronically depressed blacksmith, whatever his name was, I can't remember.
Sid.
That, but like Sid was amazing.
My favorite Sid, probably my favorite Sid in Final Fantasy, I think. In 16.
Second
after 7,
Highwind, I love
Sid. I get that. But I grew up with Headmaster Robin Williams, so what was he?
I thought he was good. He was good.
He's all right. Okay. He's all right.
Oglop Sid in Final Fantasy.
He's cool. I like him. I like the Oglop Sid who's basically gets turned into a frog for cheating on his wife. Fantastic. Or turned into an Oglop for cheating on his wife. You're never going to do it again, or oh my god.
I'm sorry, leave me alone.
Fabulous.
But Sea of Stars was amazing. 16 was good though. I enjoyed it. Baldur's Gate 3 just.
I haven't played that yet. I mean I could know it's a time sink.
It is possibly my second favorite game ever made.
Really? Is it like I know it's very D&D with the dice rolls.
Yeah, stuff. It's so good.
And I'm trying to get more involved with that.
FF7's there. Like I've never, and that's pure nostalgia. I get that. But
Yeah.
FF7 is my favorite game I've ever played. I just love it. It changed gaming for me. So I just love it. But Baldur's Gate 3 came out swinging so hard last year.
Oh, really? I mean,
it's
I've
so
seen its impact. I mean, like, I
the
know that.
freedom that you have in it.
Well,
Like you can do whatever
really?
you want. You can be the bad guy. Be the bad guy.
Right. Okay.
Just be the bad guy. Just go for it.
I mean, I'm really interested in getting more involved in the D&D stuff, mainly the performance stuff,
well.
the performance stuff, like
that
because I did acting as a kid and I loved performing, but I didn't like the bits I was doing. I'd like to do it more in a gaming world. The D&D stuff's like perfect for that. So I'd love to do some more of that sort of being daft and silly.
Yeah,
and
I've got 2 D&D campaigns I'm in at the minute. We tend to play Sundays and Mondays, and it's good fun. I enjoy it.
So you do it like on camera and like be the
characters? We get together, play. One of the lads normally streams it. So Uprisen normally streams the Sunday game, and Keatron normally streams the Saturday game. But the Monday game even. But we have fun.
Just think that this like it seems to have taken off in the last.
It did. So for me, it was at the same time I noticed a load of people that I know playing D&D, and at the same time, Critical Role appeared on my YouTube suggestions list, and that was it. That's it, done.
Yeah, well, I've never seen Critical Role. I know that they were playing at Comic-Con.
Yes.
When that was going on, I didn't realize how big that stage was. Like underneath everything, it's this like arena.
Yeah.
But I saw Ben Starr in Natural Six.
Yeah, they do one, don't they?
And Holly from it used to be on PlayStation Access. And a couple of other guys from.
Is that the one Joshua Strife Hayes is involved in?
I don't think so, no.
I think he's involved in another one. Yeah, I think he does another one. He's involved.
But he does lots of MMO stuff, doesn't he?
So, yeah. Met
him at EGX actually. He's in. I've got like an event video I need to make.
I'd quite like to meet him, to be fair, because we've got reasonably similar stories. Because he's done a lot of martial arts and stuff like that. I've done a lot of martial arts back in the day and that sort of thing. Yeah, I used to like teach up until I was about 22, something like that.
Which?
So Shotokan karate, I got a third dan in. Traditional jiu-jitsu, got a third dan in, and then I do like freestyle karate, which is just Western kickboxing.
I did Goju Ryo.
Goju Ryo, yeah.
I did that up to brown belt as a kid.
It's good. I think everyone should do a bit. I think everyone should do a bit.
I mean, I grew up doing it from 6 to 16, so it's actually helped me develop muscularly and stuff like that. So when I go to the gym, like I put muscle on like that now. So it's helped me develop. You know what I mean?
For me, it was from like the age of 5 till about 21, 22.
Yeah, that's cool then. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I love it. I just like it's time sink, isn't it? It's like I want to get in.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
And I've been like. Yeah, unfit for
I got bored teaching because people kind of use you as a babysitting service when you're teaching.
Right.
Because it's cheaper to come and drop your kid off at a karate class for 2 or 3 hours for a £5 than it is to pay £15 an hour to a babysitter. And that was literally how it went.
Really?
Like the bulk of the lessons that I would teach, that was kind of the vibe. The kids didn't want to be there. Yeah. But the parents wanted the kids to be there, and I have to teach them, and it just kind of got it drained me a bit.
I didn't realize it didn't. That's really interesting because I think I love that stuff, but again, like it's a time sink. It's one of those things I'd end up going like really into and learning all the different things like that.
Now I smoke. I need to stop smoking. I would do it. I would train again. I wouldn't teach again.
Spent the last decade sort of like recovering with some health stuff, so I've kind of like now I'm just getting to the point where I'm slim enough to be able to actually start running again to get back in shape to be able to do it. So potentially,
for me, I'm nearly 40. Right. And I want to try and prolong my life.
No, fair enough. But I didn't realize he was into. I know he's into his MMOs, and I've watched quite a bit of his stuff because he does he does really long form stuff, and it's like I've sat there and I've been like, this is amazing. I want to listen.
Like looking at like obscure MMOs and like I remember I watched a fair few of the ones that he did covering like scam MMOs. You know where it's like they do like a what's it called now, Kickstarter. They do a Kickstarter for an MMO, loads of people would donate money to the MMO, and then the MMO would come out and it'd be nothing like it was suggested to be. And that's if it even comes out. If it even comes out.
I remember when I met him at EGX, like I was speaking to someone else and I turned around to him and I was like, nice waistcoat. Anyway, what's your name? Like, it was so that was my story of meeting Josh Strife Hayes.
Waistcoat. It was a nice waistcoat as well.
A very nice waistcoat. But no, he's in, I've got like an events vlog that I need to do I've got like events I went to last year and I did like little interviews with people like with B-roll. I've got a couple on my channel, but like I've been busy with so much with the gaming stuff, and I want to get more of this Final Fantasy stuff out now because obviously
it's the time.
I want to get on the train somewhat. You know,
it is the time. This is the perfect time.
Yeah, and I think it's it's probably anything PlayStation 1 I can just talk about for ages.
Yeah, that was kind of my golden era,
yeah,
mid to late 90s.
and it's as well. It's like one of those things where like it's easy to chat to people like yourself for making my own content as well. So it's a networking and stuff like that. So it works really well. Yeah, and you start going, oh, these people remember me again. Like I say, maybe not for the right reason.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So like, all right. Well, I guess we're close to time. Would you like to plug anything you're specifically working on, or anything you got in the future?
Nothing specifically at the minute. Just gonna keep doing like the general thing. Do you know what I mean? I've not got any big plans to do any interviews myself. I started doing it originally, but it is a big time sink. And like some of the interviews, the podcast that I did, like we were recording for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And I trim it down as much as I can, and it's like, yeah, I can't keep doing that. But I get the feeling that it's just going to be a crazy few months now. We've got Rebirth coming out. Persona 3, the remake for Persona 3 comes out in a few days, I think. I need to squeeze that in somehow. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. But no, just kind of diversifying a bit more. I think I'm going to try and diversify a bit more. Because like guide videos seem to do quite well. So possibly that sort of thing. But I don't know. I'm just going to keep being me.
Keep being you. It's all good.
Just keep doing the things, hit all the news, and do wonderful podcasts like this, hopefully.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, thanks very much for joining in. Cheers.
Cheers. Take it easy.
Take care, easy.